Welcome in, Slumpbusters. It is your host, Juju and Kyle. Before we move any further, remember to like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. The phrase speed kills is one way to describe the 2022 Miami Dolphins. After signing running backs Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert in free agency, the Dolphins weren't done. They traded for the fastest player in the league, the cheetah, Tyreek Hill. Joining us to talk the state of Miami, Douglie Do Wrong of the Douglie Do Wrong YouTube channel. Want to follow him? It's just Douglie Do Wrong on Twitter and Instagram. Douglie, or Doug, what's been right about the offseason in South Beach?
The aggression. Chris Grier came out, he said he was going to be aggressive. And at first, a lot of Dolphin fans, including myself, were very skeptical. I was like, a lot of what you were doing was not aggressive, Chris Grier. And then he got aggressive. So, and then filling in what the Dolphins want to do offensively. Like you see what the 49ers did, with Deebo Samuel and their run style and all that stuff. And you start to see the translation of what Mike McDaniel's trying to install on this offense with, like you said, speed. Speed's going to kill. And a lot of opposing defenses are going to have to deal, especially when the Dolphins play home. And it's like 90-degree weather and you have these guys running all over the place. By halftime, that the other defenses can be gassed. So it's going to be interesting.
In your most recent video, so you just dropped a video grading their free agency, you gave the Dolphins an A. Was that strictly the free agent moves? Did you throw in Tyreek Hill into that decision there to give them that letter grade? And if not adding Tyreek Hill, what exactly was the move that moved that from, let's say, a B or a lesser grade to an A for you?
So yeah, I essentially, when I gave the free agency grade, it was kind of everything they did in that free agency period of the past 2 weeks. I consider the trade for Tyreek Hill a free agency move. Yeah, it would be an A plus if they addressed the linebacker core. To me, that is now the weakest part of the Miami Dolphins. It was the offensive line. It was like offensive line, wide receivers, linebackers, then running backs. So it's kind of like that. Now linebackers are up there. Bobby Wagner just signing with the Rams, kind of was hoping he'd come to Miami. So yeah, it would be an A plus if they go out and get JC Treader or if they address the linebacking core. But the fact that those little pieces are still iffy, like are they still going to stick with Dieter? What are they doing at right tackle? And what are they doing at middle linebacker is why I didn't give them an A plus. But I think they killed it. Some of the unsung heroes like Alec Ingold, bringing him in is going to drastically help that run game. So I think you were very solid. They wanted to keep the defense the same. Again, there's this top 15 defense the past 2 years. So they wanted to keep it the same, keep the coaches in there, keep the players in there, and just kind of fix the offense. So I think it was pretty solid A.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Tyreek Hill trade specifically, because the Miami Dolphins get, a 27-year-old receiver who could retire tomorrow, and you could make a case for him making the Hall of Fame. Obviously, they had to give up $120 million with about 72 of that guaranteed, plus 5 draft picks, including a first-round pick in this year's draft. So obviously it's a high price tag, especially for a position that most people don't regard as a position that's a game-changing type of player. So what do you make of the trade? Obviously, Tyreek Hill makes the Dolphins the better team, but given what they gave up to get him, what did you make when the news came in last week?
I was surprised, right? It was quick. From our standpoint. It was like an hour, like I think around like 10 o'clock. It was like Adam Schefter was like Tyreek Hill potential trade to the Jets or the Dolphins. And then like hour later, all of a sudden, boom, Dolphins trade. Everything seems like to get Tyreek Hill. But when you talk to Chris Grier, that was in the works since the Friday before. So it was in the works a day after free agency started. So again, I was sitting back saying, where's the aggression? We didn't know what was going on behind doors. I like the move. I think it fits, especially you're going to pair him with Waddle. And it's like, all right, who you double covering? Who you pressing? And then they bring in Cedric Wilson Jr., another speedy, vertical threat wide receiver. It's like the Dolphins are making it easy for Tua to say, look, I'm not the bum that people call me. But I like the trade in the fact that it was only 1 first-round pick. The Dolphins have 2 fourths this year. They gave up only 1 fourth. So it was a first, a second, a fourth, and a sixth this year. And then I think next year was just a fourth and a sixth. I'm fine with that, especially because we still have the 2 firsts next year. The cap hit. This year, it's only $6 million. And then next year is when he gets his 30. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But it's essentially like a 4-year contract because after the 4th year, they have an out because he's due like $50 million the 5th year. And there's no way on God's green earth anyone's going to pay a wide receiver $50 million. Surprised quarterbacks get paid that much. But his addition, it helps. It helps the team. It helps. Like, look at Vegas. Our odds of winning the division shot up. It helps a lot. It was surprising. I didn't expect it to be made. I thought there was going to be more offensive line, defensive help, but I like the move a lot. And I think he's gonna be extremely dangerous. And you could tell it was a good move because Jet fans are like pissed and they're trying to like downplay. Oh, he's not going to do anything anyway because Tua doesn't throw in. Blah, blah, blah. You can tell when somebody wants that player that they all of a sudden get real butthurt after they don't get them.
Speaking about a New York-based football franchise, the Giants did something very similar with Daniel Jones last offseason. They went out there, they acquired him a big free agent target in Kenny Galladay. They drafted a first-round wide receiver. The Miami Dolphins already had their first-round wide receiver in Jalen Waddle, and now they're going out and getting Tyreek Hill. Obviously, improving the line, improving the weapons, getting an offensive-minded head coach, all good things. But what type of pressure does that put on Tua this coming season?
I think Tua, it's funny too, because a lot of people want to say like no more excuses. And the funny thing is Tua himself has never came out and given any excuses. It's always the fans. The fans want to raffle off a ton of excuses, which most of them are justified on Tua's struggle. Tua never does it. I think him consistently putting the pressure on himself to be better. It's hard to be successful in the team that he had last year, even the year before, because by the time he faced the Chiefs in his rookie year, he had none of his starting receivers healthy. Last year, he had the worst. It's not even one of the worst. He had the worst offensive line. So a lot of people are complaining, why doesn't he push the ball down the field? Why doesn't he throw it down the field and all that stuff? Well, if you have no run game and you have no time to throw the ball down the field, then all of a sudden the defense isn't going to respect your deep passes and they're going to press the box, they're going to blitz you, they're going to do all these things and nothing's going to open down the field. So I think adding the players that the Dolphins added, and it's a lot, like you said, Mostert, Chase Edmonds, Tyreek Hill, Tron Armstead, Connor Williams, Alec Ingold. It's like, all right, here you go, Tua. This is what you needed. If everything on paper plays like it should, here you go. Here's everything you needed. Now show us the Alabama Tua. Show us the guy who's going to throw the ball down the field, who's going to, because we've seen it, and my biggest thing with Tua is inconsistency, because we see it in games where he'll evade pressure, throw the ball down the field. That Jet game where he ran over the friggin' safety, like we see him playing at a top level, but then the next play he'll like throw an interception. And all of a sudden everyone forgets about his nice plays. So once he can chain it together and stay more consistent, I think people are going to start realizing the type of quarterback he can be.
Well, you mentioned consistency, and that's the thing that people talk about all the time when it comes to Rodgers or Tom Brady, or even someone of the caliber of a Kyler Murray, is like they consistently push the ball down the field, but they also don't make mistakes. So given what the Dolphins have done, and I guess given your opinions of Tua, do you think that they've done enough to potentially help Tua be more consistent as a quarterback?
100%. Yeah. Like this is as close as you can get to a perfect offense for Tua to be successful. Like you brought up Aaron Rodgers. I think he threw an interception week 1 and then he didn't throw one for like the rest of the season. Like he's just super consistent when it comes to protecting the ball. This is as close as you can get to a perfect situation. This is what should have happened when Tua got drafted to the Dolphins, because you saw that what happened to Joe Burrow. You saw that what happened with Justin Herbert. Okay, we're going to take this quarterback. Let's build around him. Let's give him the offense that he's used to, all that. They didn't do that for Tua. They didn't do that for like a whole year and a half. And then they thought bringing in 3 offensive coordinators is really going to help the kid. It just confused them. So this is the first time that Tua, somebody's actually sitting back and saying, let me help this kid out and let me put him in a situation that I can make him successful, versus I'm going to make the defense successful and then just don't mess it up. That's essentially was Tua's first 2 years in the league. The defense is going to win you games. Don't mess it up. So he was like, all right, I'm not going to force it down the field. I'm not going to try to make errant passes, yada, yada. This is the closest that I've seen the Dolphins get to helping their quarterback. Even going back to Ryan Tannehill, a lot of people wanted to say Dolphins didn't help Ryan Tannehill. They tried, and they just didn't do a good job of it. This seems to be the closest.
This was a very busy offseason in the coaching hiring cycle. We saw a lot of turnover, and I think one of the biggest surprises, of course, was Brian Flores getting relieved of his duties in Miami. Flores had consecutive winning seasons, but obviously in the 3 years he was there, never made the playoffs. Would you have made the move? And what was your reaction when it first went down?
I was surprised, and not in the aspect that I didn't think he was going to get fired, but once they went 8 of 9, 8 of 9 over the last 9 games, I was like, all right, well, he just secured his job. Like there's no, because if I'm the owner, once he hit 1 and 7, I'm firing him. Like that's just the way I would have saw it. And it's not even him. Once they hit 1 and 7, I'm firing him angrier. Like I'm done. You guys had how many draft picks, how much cap space, and you had all of this resources to build a great team, and you're starting 1 and 7 after going 10 and 6, and you're taking that huge of a step back. I'm firing them both. Grier, you're gone. Flores, you're gone. We'll have an interim for now, and then I'm going to get the best coach when the season's over. That's what I'm doing. And the coach comes in, GM comes in, they do whatever they need to. I want to win now. So I was surprised they kept him, and then also he started winning, and then I was like, well, he ain't going anywhere now. They got fired. And then we all know about the legal issues, but I wasn't necessarily surprised he got fired because, like I said, you go 10-6, and then all of a sudden you get rid of a ton of vets, Bobby McCain, Kyle Van Noy, Eric Flowers, Ted Karras. All of a sudden your offensive line is garbage because you have first and second year starters versus opposite of Jesse Davis. 4 of them are first and second year starters. Like, you think that's going to be successful, and you have an offensive line coach who's been doing it never. Like, this was his first offensive line coaching job, and you honestly could sit back and say, oh, this offensive line is going to protect Tua Tagovailoa. Week 2, broken ribs. It's like, and then it took him how many weeks to take Austin Jackson from left tackle to left guard, and he kept Jesse Davis, who broke Tua's ribs in all season at right tackle. So it's like, it was a pile up. That's why I'm saying, like, if it was me, once you lost to the Bills, you went 1-7, you're out. I'll bring somebody else in, because he just didn't make the moves on offense. He was so focused on defense. And that's the other thing, right? All of a sudden in that Bills game, you saw a different defense. You saw a more aggressive Dolphin defense. And then they started winning. And a lot of players, Emmanuel Ogbah, Jerome Baker, Xavier Howard came out and said, oh, we went back to 2020 Miami Dolphin defense. So you went on a 7-game losing streak, and that's when you thought you should go back to your old defense? Those would be my thought processes. You got to go. So that's why, I was surprised because he won so many games towards the end of the season, but I wasn't, because it took him too long to make the right decisions to change the team.
Well, how do you feel about McDaniels now? Because I've been joking for the past 3 months. He was their plan C option as head coach. So how do you feel about him now that we've gotten into the offseason?
Yeah, there's all those rumors. At first it was Dable, and then Dable went to the Giants, and then it was a hard push for Harbaugh, and then he decided, I'm going to go back to Michigan.
Apparently, we also know Sean Payton now too. Sean Payton was also requested for interview. That.
So technically, it was like the plan D option. And the Harbaugh thing too. There's a lot of speculation that if Brian Flores didn't come out with the lawsuit, that he was going to go to the Dolphins. But once that happened, he was like, I'm not going to deal with that, and he backed out. I like McDaniel. I think he's a player's coach, and he's smart. I watched a lot of film breakdown where he is incredibly smart. He knows how to take half of your defense away with just simply putting one player on one side. He uses Kittle very well in motions and stuff. It's very smart. Now, I've gotten high and mighty and very excited for coaches. I did it with Adam Gase, and I did it with Brian Flores, and it bit me in the butt. So I'm being cautiously optimistic. But if he can do to the Dolphins offense what he did with the 49ers, and if the defense can stay the way it has played the past 2 years, I think this is going to be a really good team, especially because a lot of his players are still talking to him. Kittle and Deebo Samuel and all those guys, they love Mike McDaniel. So he's the type of coach that I'm going to show you, like, I'm not going to yell at you and preach to you that you should do this. I'm just going to give you an example. Like, here, go play here, do what I tell you, and then let's see how it pans out. Oh, you just got an interception. See, listen to me. I'm going to help you out. So I'm excited, but again, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Doug, I tell you this, if the Dolphins trade for Deebo Samuel, we're scrapping. We're fighting, my friend. I don't see McDaniel deviating too much from the offense he ran in San Francisco. I see him sticking to it. He was one of the longest tenured Shanahan assistants. So clearly it's an offense that he knows how to run inside and out. And that brings up questions with Tua versus Jimmy G. How does he utilize the quarterback position? And I don't think it would be a bad thing if Tua became essentially the left-handed Jimmy Garoppolo, because for all the flack that Jimmy gets, wins more games than he loses, doesn't make the wow throw, but makes enough good throws throughout the course of a game to help you win those games. If Tua becomes nothing more than, like I mentioned, left-handed Jimmy G, are you okay with that? Or do you think it's a disappointment given he was a top 5 drafted quarterback?
I'd like a little bit more than Jimmy G. No offense to Jimmy G. I feel like he's the reason you guys aren't in the Super Bowl last year. No, I'm sorry. And I honestly think if you had a different quarterback than Jimmy G, I think you guys would have won the Super Bowl last year. He held you guys back. There was a lot of dumb throws by him that Tua won't make. He's accurate, and he's a little bit more mobile than Jimmy G, and he's young. And that was my biggest talking point when I was watching the playoffs last year. And again, I'm sorry, I'm like ripping on your team, but I said, hey, if Jimmy G can get this far, we can get far with Tua. Like, come on. Like, and a lot of people who don't like Tua push back and said Jimmy G's better and this and that.
One thing I'll say here, those guys, those Shanahan, those LaFleurs, McDaniel, they value the system more than the quarterback.
Yes. And that's the thing I appreciate and I'm excited to see, because it's not going to be a fight with your quarterback situation. And also, I don't know if this is an upcoming question, but I don't see If Tua doesn't pan out, because again, you guys asked, is this the perfect situation? And it doesn't pan out. I'm not surprised if Mike McDaniel moves on from Tua after 1 year because they have the 2 first-round picks next year. I honestly think the reason they are putting all of this stuff around Tua is for 2 reasons. One, let's see what you got because you got everything now. And if not, it's super enticing for another quarterback to see, oh, you got all these weapons in this offensive line. I want to go to Miami now versus if it was this year, everyone's like, I don't know, Miami, they suck. So it's going to be interesting. But if he is the left arm to Jimmy G, I'm not that upset. Jimmy G went to the Super Bowl. Like, are you kidding me? He's a solid quarterback. People forget. Everyone wants the Justin Herbert, never been to a playoff game. They want like all of these high throwing, legit quarterbacks, but forget about the Trent Dilfer, the Rich Gannons, all these guys who've won the Super Bowl or been to the Super Bowl. And it is possible. You just have to have the right team. Like Tom Brady wasn't that great his first few years. It wasn't until like year 3, 4 that all of a sudden you got the actual Tom Brady. So I wouldn't be upset with the left-handed Jimmy G.
Yeah, this is the interesting part is like everyone wants the quarterback, but what do you do if you don't have the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta kind of improvise there. And Tua's not terrible. He's just not great either. So you kind of find your middle ground there. So the disagreement that Juju and I have is that he believes in the McDaniel system. He believes in his 49ers buddy, and he thinks that the Dolphins may have a top 10 rushing game next season. And I say that their running back room, regardless of the people they added, is still terrible because even if you add Edmonds and Mostert, Myles Gaskin is still technically the number 1. And I don't think that any system or improved offensive line is going to change them from one of the worst rushing games to top 10 without getting a better running back. So how do you feel about the Dolphins running game going into next year?
I got to see it. I got to see it on the field and I got to see it in camp and stuff. But I see where you're coming from because especially last year, a lot of what I saw was like Duke Johnson was breaking off big runs and then they would take him off the field. Some of it had to do with the offensive line, but then some of it had to do with the running backs. Because again, you'd have Myles Gaskin, you have Savon Ahmed, you'd have all these guys who were just struggling to have nice games. Then you plug in Duke Johnson, all of a sudden in his second game, he's busting off a 100-yard game. So it's a yin and yang situation with the offensive line. But I think going back to that traditional style of running and bringing in the Alec Ingold and then the style and the semantics and all that stuff that Mike McDaniel can do with the offense when it comes to motions, when it comes to opening up lanes, taking away the defense, I'm very excited because Connor Williams talked about it with the zone run scheme and how it takes the defense off their feet because it moves them. It moves the entire defense and it helps the offensive line be able to push these guys over. And if they can take Teron Armstead and do what they did with Williams, where they motioned him, that's like a wrecking ball. Like when I watched them first do that in the playoffs, I was like, is this like the first time I really watched 49ers football?
Should be illegal. Feels illegal.
It was terrifying. If I used to play defensive end, I would be scared to see him coming at me like that. Like, are you kidding me? I think they'll prosper. And I think because you're going to see Tyreek Hill back there, you'll probably see Jalen Waddle back there. It's not going to be like, we're not going to have a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't think we're going to do that. But I think the team in a whole, I think it's going to be successful. And I think it's going to be a run first. You might even see Alec Ingold get like 500-600 rushing yards. So we'll see. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I have a saying on my channel. I'd rather be surprised than let down because there's too many times after the 2016 season, the 2008 season where I'm like, yeah. And then, and I did this past season. I'm like 10-6. It can only go up from here. Nope.
Whether you're Fins fan or Tuanon, definitely Doug, you have a channel that people should be following. Tell people about all your work. Where can they find you besides YouTube? What type of stuff are you working on, man?
Appreciate that. So if I'm not on YouTube, I'm on Twitter a lot, but a lot of it's year round. Like I don't take a break. So like the free agency is kind of dying down right now. Friday's the 1st. So I'm going to start going to the draft, even though the Dolphins don't pick until the 3rd round. So I'm still going to live stream it, but it's going to be real boring for me and my Dolphin fans. But I break down my top 5 prospects at each position. And then when training camp comes, I give, play-by-play for training camp, OTAs, all that stuff. And then I live stream every game. I do a pre-post game, all that cool stuff. So we got a lot going on over there.
Douglie, do wrong, do right, and hit that subscribe button on this guy's channel at Slumpbuster Podcast for us, at Slumpbuster Pod on Twitter. Juju Talk Sports, Kyle Ledbetter. Stay safe, happy, healthy. We will see you next time.